This is from another video I made on how to make very quick and easy cat collars. This is just a single piece of ribbon that's been glued and sewed together with a single stitch. You can see that other video. But while I was designing how to do this for my cats, I used some methods that I knew I wouldn't quite be happy with them wearing, but they would be perfectly safe for humans to use. So using very similar methods and the same materials, I came up with a very quick and easy bracelet. And they have the side buckles, the side release buckles. This one is made with a single piece of ribbon. This is made with 2 pieces of ribbon. This one I'm making out of gross grain ribbon that doesn't really move, but by the time I add the buckle, the side release buckle, that's going to give some additional space so that it won't be too tight on my hand. Just a note about the side release buckles. They come in a lot of different colors and they come in different widths. I bought these black ones in one package and the variety pack of different colors and sizes from a different place. If you really want your bracelets to have the ribbon and the buckle match, you should probably buy the buckle first. You can see this doesn't really match. This is a lighter and redder purple than the 2 ribbons, the ribbon and the trim. So if you really want everything to match super, or if you're making these for a club or a sports team or whatever, then you should probably buy your side release buckles first. These, you can, if you want, you can, change them. You can, have them fit together differently. Just make sure that the clips all match size-wise before you go ahead and do anything. So this is a bit different than how I did the cat collars, because on the cat collars I wanted the seam side as the ribbon on the outside, but this time I want it on the inside. So you just put it through once on one side, and then you put it through that way. If you have a kitten or a cat who doesn't like wearing collars, you don't want a staple inside of their cat collar. However, it's probably pretty okay for a human. If you think your human would have issues with this, don't do this. This staple is going to go in sideways. If your ribbon is wide enough, you can do it the other way. And this will take a little bit off of the measurement, but it should be okay. So now this is stapled. And it's still just like the cat collar tutorial is, where you just pull it up inside like that. And now you have the seam, it's on the inside this time. So you could continue and have this out like this, so that it would be on the back of your wrist, because these buckles tend to migrate to the wrist side. I like having the seam, for lack of a better word, I like having it close to the buckle edge there, the buckle slot. So I'm going to move it over there. And now I'm going to get out the second part that I kind of had issues with for a cat, which is I'm going to use some fabric glue. And to start, I'm just going to put it in there. I'm just squeezing it on top and the bottom of the seam. And that way, get a good glob there. This fabric glue dries clear, and it dries pretty flexibly. So I put that in there, probably a little too much. The second great thing about using staples is, even though that's sideways, I can go in now and I can just kind of bend that a little bit so that it's not going to stick out at all. It's going to just be part of the curve of the wrist. At this point you have to wait. And if you don't want to stand here for, 20 minutes probably holding this, then you could hold this shut with a paper clip. You could just push it over there and let it wait. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to do that. You might notice that I'm doing this with the buckle shut, and you could do it so that you could do it with the bracelet flat, but then it kind of gets bumpy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the other side too. I didn't think the paper clips would work as well, to tell the truth. I usually use I'm just putting the glue in there. I usually actually use binder clips was the second thing I was going to suggest to hold it. And they're very sturdy. Or the old standby. You could even just use painter's tape on it. But in this case, these are working actually much better than I thought they would. So I'm just doing the other side. And when I come back in 20 minutes, if that's dry, then I'll decide then if I want to add more glue spots along here. If you're using the fold over elastic, it's got a lot of friction actually, so it tends to just stay. But this ribbon, even though it's gross grain, actually this probably won't either. If you're using like a satin ribbon, that might be moving a lot, and you might want to add some dots of glue there. I sometimes make small fairies, and so I have a lot of doll size trim, and it's very narrow. I buy my doll trim on eBay because we don't really have any fabric stores where I live, but you could find something like this. This was from my grandmother's sewing box, and it's regular trim. It just happens to be narrow and has little daisies on it. So I'm going to put some trim on top of this. So I just want a thin bead. This is on gross grain. And again, this stuff will dry transparently, but it won't matter as much because it's on the bottom layer. This does take a while to dry. It would be great if a hot glue gun would work, but then it would make it very stiff. So for this case, oops, I'm just going to cut this off, and you can trim it if it doesn't line up exactly. You can, and then you just put the second layer on, and if you're afraid of buckling or anything like that, you can put some wax paper or parchment paper on top. So this one is dry, and I'm going to proceed exactly the same way as for when it's a single layer of ribbon. This is the front. Going to pinch the ends together so they're facing. This ribbon is wider than the previous ribbon, so that I can staple perpendicular to the ends this time. I just want to make sure it's far enough back and get it as even as I can. And then I'm going to move the stapled ends over to one side. And next I will put the glue in. And I put glue on the top and the bottom of the staple. Pinch that down into position. I'm going to, a little bit of overflow there, but that's okay. Now I'm going to put a paper clip over it, making sure it's still even on the edges. Gonna pull that all so it lines up nicely. Gonna pinch that end. Put some glue in between those two layers along the buckle edge. Just making sure that the ends meet up nicely there. Pinch that down. Grab another paper clip, and then I'll let that dry.